going to present this right, because mainly we're going to talk about electronic tagging. Do my screens come up, Phoebe?
Yeah, we've got it.
Brilliant. We're going to talk about electronic tagging mainly and bits and pieces around that. As Phoebe's kindly introduced me, yeah, I've worked my way up from assistant shepherd or general farm worker all the way through to managing a farm for part of the Sainsbury family, which was sold off in 2019, and I was made redundant. And then I started up my own business, helping farmers collect and use information on sheep and cattle. And I've been busily beavering around with that. Part of that journey has been doing a Nuffield scholarship, investigating the cost benefits of electronic identification in sheep and cattle, and getting to travel to New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Norway, looking at this topic, seeing how they do it, because they are using it in cattle and not sheep, and we're the opposite way around. So it's quite intriguing. Right, so first question for everybody. I know we're not going to put hands up or anything like that, but how many of you have got loyalty cards? How many of you give data to all the big supermarkets, companies, because you get money off? We all do it. I've got pockets full of them. Why don't we do the same on our animals? There is a reason all these supermarkets, Boots, Tesco's, Sainsbury's, collect data on us to understand what's going on. Where their animals moving around their shopping centres, garages, bits and pieces. They need to know and want to know what our habits are. So we need to replicate this. And the simplest way of replicating is by putting a digital ear tag into an animal. That's our club card. So why use EID? Well, we can record anything on paper. There's no reason we can't use paper. It's government mandatory. There's no reason. But EID records are more accurate. I've got bad dyslexia. Normally, if I'm doing something, I'm wearing coloured glasses to help me see. I've got massive bad dyslexia. That's why I implemented EID on the farms I work, to help me eliminate some of the mistakes in collecting data, writing numbers down. EID data capture is quicker. It's a technical improvement, quicker of capturing data. High speed, it can be done. We can read tags very quickly. But what's missing is training. The biggest thing that's come out of my Nuffield is the lack of training and education of how to use it. And we're just buying stuff on grants, and it's being sent to farmers, not being set up properly, and that's one of the stumbling blocks. The next thing, digital data is easier to share. Government bodies, vets, advisors, ABP, bringing stuff backwards and forwards. It's just so much easier than doing stuff on pen and paper. The big thing I've discovered, if we can make it easy, it happens. Massively happens. This is where training and education comes in place. Plus putting the right equipment on farm. And something I've got to travel to Wales tomorrow. I'm based in West Sussex. I'm in North Wales tomorrow, because some technology for a project has been put on farm without any of my advice or anything, and it doesn't do what they want it to do. So I've got to go there and sort it out. That's the biggest thing I'm finding, is the amount of missold equipment, not understanding what the farmer wants, getting out of it, and people are just buying equipment because the Mole Valley, the Winstead say that's what we're selling. Training. Again, it's really interesting that come off my Nuffield, that in New Zealand, we're true tester based. They've got 7 reps to cover the whole country of New Zealand to help farmers implement EID. We have 2 in the UK. Massive difference. Support, massive thing on support. There is a lack of support in helping farmers get set up. And again, setting up the weigh scales in the yard to make them work. Again, IAE, people like that, just send them out. And if people know why, how, what, when, all them sort of words, what the goals are trying to achieve from collecting data, farmers are more likely to do it. But unless you've got a goal, an aspiration, and share it with people who work with you, things don't happen. Right, why collect data? Well, we've kind of covered some of it, but some of the reasons is we can help inform and make better breeding decisions. No doubt about that. Understanding EBVs, putting information together. For cattle people and for the sheep people I work with, tracking young stock coming into herds or flocks is really, really important. making sure where they come from, how well they're doing, and finding the outliers that are not meeting the targets. Detecting problems early. This is the project in Wales. Again, it's sheep, but they are looking at it in cattle as well. Identifying animals early before they're exhibiting signs of parasites, before they're releasing eggs. They're doing a target selected treatment. And it's just identifying things when the animals can show us before potentially stockman can see it, or the animals are showing too much clinical sign. And EID is well possible at this. Optimizing animal feed. Again, making sure the feed rations, you've got enough grass in front of them, nutrition's right. Again, EID helps you observe. We can measure grass, we can do, but the animals are always key to showing us what's going on. A healthy animal grows quicker and we use less medication to get there. Selling animals at the right time. Again, critical. Getting the best profit possible. That's what we're all here for, is to make a profit. And, again, what do government want it for? What can we use EID for? Well, government just look at it for biosecurity massively. That's all they're really interested in, but animal production is what we're interested in. And both of those are linked hand in hand. And we have to understand this. Farmers when sheep EID was introduced, farmers were massively anti it. Another cost, another this, another that, but they didn't realize how much interlinked it is. And once they got used to it, it's never been an issue for them. Data recording EID should benefit your business. So if I was doing an advisory thing with one of you guys, first thing is I'd ask you, what problem do you want to solve? No, it's got to give you an advantage. If it doesn't give you an advantage, it's not worth doing it. It's got to make you more money. It could take 3 to 5 years to get there, but it's got to have the goal of making you more money. And it's got to be easy. If it's not easy, the stick readers go in the hedge and the job gets done. So that's where training and education comes back in. It must do at least 3 of those, if not all of them, to help you achieve what you want to do. But again, it's sitting down, planning and working out what is your goals out of this, introducing the EID, why it's not mandatory. So where do we start? Well, what we don't understand is the technology. These are all EID chips out of a tag, out of different tags. Okay, these are all out of sheep tags. The ones up to the matchstick are all out of sheep tags, but different size chips read better. And in cattle crushers with so much metal, we get interference. They call it noise. Abattoirs really suffer with it. But the better the quality of the chip, the bigger the antennae, the better it is read. So bigger is better. But we also use 2 different technologies. We use HDX and we use FDX, full duplex and half duplex. In the labs, the full duplex in a sterile environment reads so much better, quicker, cleaner, crisper. But in our farming environment, HDX reads better. That's why all dairy parlours use it. That's why most of the beef industry use it. The sheep industry are on 50-50 because it's more expensive. But something else we're really bad at is applying tags. We're really, really bad at it. And there's been some research done. Unfortunately, there's a sheep pictures just to give you an idea, but it's very similar with cattle. We don't read the instructions of how the manufacturers have designed the tags to go in. So all these are pictures of sheep, I think. All them ones have been tagged completely wrong. Not how the manufacturers recommend us putting them in, all the ones with crosses. And they've got a massive higher loss rate. And if we are putting a slightly more expensive tag in, and we want traceability just for your own records, let alone government, we need to apply them properly. So for cattle, this is what they recommend. In the middle of the ear here, it's not rocket science, but we should take a little bit extra time when applying the tag to make sure it lasts. Now, something else that's massively come up that's being worked on in Scotland, that tag weight actually makes a difference. Most of the tags are within the weight range that's recommended. But this tag here, if it increases its weight by 5 grams, which is the weight of the EID, so if you add 2 EIDs to it, it's got an 80% chance of coming out. So weight is massively important, tagging it in the right place and making sure we're not overloading tags with other tags. Because what I've seen people in the beef industry do is get a sheep tag get a sheep tag and clip it in there to get an EID because it's cheaper. These are cheaper than cattle tags. That increases the weight and make it more highly likely you will lose the tag. And that is really important. Right, EID is coming in cattle. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be, EID will become compulsory soon. It's been compulsory in sheep for a while, since 2010, but EID is coming in cattle. One of the things we don't know is what technology we're using. So there's two different technologies. There's low frequency and there's high frequency. And these slides are probably the wrong way round reading it like this. But, you know, the big thing, we're used to using low frequency. You know, most manufacturers, all manufacturers make them. High frequency at the moment, we've only got one manufacturer or two manufacturers that got them on the shelves, Shearwell, but trying to get them out of them is very difficult. And Scott EID in Scotland. The biggest thing is it doesn't like rain. So high frequency doesn't like rain. It's affected by rain. But the read distance is massive, can be several meters. It can be up to 9 meters away. And it can read multiple animals in one go. So literally you can scan a pen full of animals and it'll read them all up. It's got massive advantages, but I think it's, my personal opinion, it's a few years away. So what we're looking at is at the moment we use low frequency, the top one. There's high frequency in between, use a lot of industry. Then there's ultra high frequency is what they're looking potentially in Scotland for cattle. UK is looking at it as well, but I believe it's a few years off the technology getting there. So what is the big advantages? So one of the things we can do is just get a cattle crush and we can put ultra high frequency on top. It can read massive distances, multiple animals, and low frequency on top. This was a cattle crush for a DEFRA project and the low frequency didn't work very well. It's because it wasn't set up very well at all. They had a big metal shield, as you can see just behind the EID reader, where they bolted it on, and that was just reflecting back the read where the high frequency was on top and it could read through the metal bits and pieces. So that's the reason it didn't work very well. Some readjustments and it did work better. But what people like about high frequency is these. So massive readers, or it's a race or a market, and 4 readers on top, and all the animals walk through. As long as the tags work, it will read all the tags. But as you can see from them panels, they're at a slight angle. And if the angle is moved slightly, they don't work very well at all. So they need to be installed by a reputable manufacturer. At the moment, we haven't got them. So here's some low frequency, high frequency again in a dairy parlor coming in. Again, can read all the tags that are coming in against 2 panels in a cattle system. Again, try to do the same job. It does work, just it's not as efficient. And again, another one just in a parlor system against in a race. And again, this one's been installed wrong. And it's some of the things we've massively come up against is installation of these against metal bars. It just needs some rubber grommets and move it off so it can not straight onto the metalwork so it gets feedback. Again, equipment, LF goes on farm without any support, needs setting up. People need to be trained. Ultra high frequency needs setting up even more on farm. People get on about the costs. Well, low frequency, we know the readers are out there, £124 to £3 grand. Panels, anything from 1,200 quid to £2.5 grand. Ultra high frequency in theory is cheaper because other industries use it. So hospitals use it, Amazon use it for crates, bits and pieces, monitoring stuff around warehouses. So in theory, it's cheaper. But what we've got to remember is the quality we need for working out in the rain and weather is not what they're using in warehouses and hospitals. So we always have to keep that in mind. So, you know, equipment on farm ranges, not normal sort of prices somewhere around there. There is a massive difference. But what we've got to remember is that the ultra high frequency, the main manufacturers we use, Gallagher, True Test, Agrident, Shearwell, don't make readers for it. They have told me, or Gallagher and True Test have told me, they will make a reader that can read your sheep tags on low frequency and ultra high frequency tags for cattle, all in the same reader. Because we're the only country in the world that wants it, we're going to have to pay for it. So they're going to be somewhere double, treble the price. So we all have to keep this in mind. Where do we recommended people we can buy this equipment from? Well, Low Frequency, True Test, Gallagher, Agrident, Shearwell, we all know them. Ultra high frequency, Zebra, Honeywell, they are big brands, but they're not companies who make stuff for our environment as well. The next question you've got is, what software companies can deal with ultra high frequency at the moment? Not one of the third-party software companies can connect and make any of these readers work into their software. So if you're thinking about adopting it today, you can get the tags from Shearwell, you can get the tags from Scott EID. But if you're using a third-party software, they are struggling to connect to some of these readers at the moment. Tag prices. Oh, that slide's moved slightly. Tag prices. Metal tags, £2.60 to go into them. Plastic ones on low frequency, £2.70. Ultra high frequency at the moment is coming at £3.50 because we're the only country in the world using them. Right, we can record anything. Like we said, we can record anything in paper form, no problem at all. Kill sheets all can come across paper form, bits and pieces. What people don't know is these can be digitized. Something I do all the time. I was doing before this meeting, digitizing this information. There's apps on your phone free that can scan all this and digitize it so it can be sucked into things. Really simply just need some training. But what we need is technology on farm. There's loads of it out there, and it's working out what's right for you and fitting your needs. So where do we start with this? Well, what we start doing is look at what do you want to get out of it? What do you want to record? So then what equipment will fulfill your needs? So why use EID? Well, we've already talked pen and paper is as good. No, bits and pieces, we've been there. We know the advantage of it. But where you want to start is choosing 3 things that you want to investigate, monitor. Start with clear aims and goals, because if you haven't got them, if you're anything like me, you'll drift off onto something else. So where do you start? Well, pick your goal. What's your first data collection point? What's your target? It's really important to put a target in place. It might be how many days before you get the animals to ABP, but it's really important to have a target. Do you need a second point, a third point? Do you need the third point? You never know without knowing your targets. Who, how, when going to process the data? It's all right collecting it, but what we forget is who's going to process it and how we're going to use it. Then when and how are you going to use it? So important. Then when is it going to be completed by? Always important to have a date. It might not need to be done that week, that month. It could be something that's done the end of the production year. It's totally up to you. Right, this is a sheep production year, but it'll give you the points. So weaning, starting at weaning, got tupping, scanning, pre-lambing, all data capture points we can capture data at, no problem at all. But if you look at the triangles, they're really wide. So do you need to capture it on that date? So if you're TB testing or something, is it important to do it on that date, or is it easy to, when there's less stress, to bring them animals back in another day and move them through? With cattle, there's more likely to be on the same stressful day. So that's where training and education needs to come in. On the sheep side, well, they come in a lot more often because they seem to like to die. So other 2 great points for capturing data, and ABTP do some of this for you, is sales information. Really great source of information. You can get it off them, suck it into a lot of the software really easily. Then something else for the sheep industry is your deaths, really monitoring what's happening there and having clear and precise definitions of why these animals have died. But lambing's tight, calving's tight, so it's important that that data is collected at that point. When will we need this data? How are we going to collect it? Again, it's important to go through what you want to do and how. You're going to make informed decisions. Talk to your vet, talk to advisors, how we're going to use it and where we're going to use it. Once you've worked out what you want to collect, what equipment is needed? Do you need a brand? If you've got True Test Gallagher, do you need that? Can you get away with something cheaper? Have your equipment on farm can be readjusted to make to work. It's not always that we need to buy new stuff. It's understanding how it all comes together to make you work properly. Will the hardware work with the software you're looking at? Now, at certain points, some of this software doesn't work with some hardware. No. Will it record what you want? Will it send the EID to an app on a phone? That's really getting really more and more important. People want to record stuff on phones, tablets, out in the field. Compared to when I started, everything was done on a bit of hardware. Will it work with a Mac or a PC? And that's becoming more and more apparent, especially with the younger generation, between iPhones and Android. Will the software talk to the hardware? And you'd be surprised how much software and hardware don't talk together. Will it work on apps and bits and pieces? iOS is a real pain in the backside with some of this software. It really is. So if we just take, I've got 5 of the main apps out there, just taking that, looking at it, got an Android, and we're just sending weight over Bluetooth. Well, absolutely great. Sharewell's new My Work software will only take weight off their Share Hub at the moment. Their Shareway program won't take weight off any of the other manufacturers. So if you're looking at Sharewell, unfortunately at the moment you need to go with them. And we're just looking at Android and we're just looking at weight. So if we flick that over to being Apple now, no, most of it's very similar, except for we've lost all the True Test range at the bottom. The 3000 and 5000 range will not connect doing a live session through Bluetooth to anything on Apple. And that can get rid of half the market. So if you're really looking at doing something with them, you might be needing to look at Gallagher or the lower end True Test models. But again, it depends which and what information you want to record on an app or what information you want to record on the device. Again, some of these devices, the True Test 5000 and the Gallagher TW range, can send the EID and the weight to some of these apps over Bluetooth or over a Wi-Fi connection. So they become hotspots and can send the information. Really, really handy because an XR5000 or a Gallagher TW3 can record and do a lot more than these apps can do. And they're really, really handy. They're a lot of money. I'm not disagreeing with they're a lot of money, but they can record a lot of information. But what we've got to remember is, is that what we want? But again, if we look at what apps can do it on Apple, we're just talking of 2 and 1 type of device. Really limits your market and understanding how we've got to collect this data. Again, cattle people, BCMS, bits and pieces. There's 18 softwares on the market, independent softwares we can access in the UK. Only 5 of them connect on a PC to BCMS. On iOS, 4, 3 on Android. And some of these are the same software companies. So out of 18 software companies, some of them do not connect with the government gateways. We need to bear this in mind, especially if we're going to go compulsory records at the moment. If passports end up disappearing over time, I'm sure the software companies catch up with us, but there's things that might happen. Right, if we look at weight data, this is sheep, unfortunately, 2009. We can see here that the sheep here, the average sheep on the farm, my data from where I used to work, drops off through the year. At the time in 2004, we started using this. We didn't know if this was good, bad, or indifferent. So I put a target in that 80% of the lambs needs to be sold by the time the ewes went back in with the ram. You can make up your own target and then work out how far off you are. And we was a long way off. But using data, we were able to get it up above that target line and started selling animals earlier. We just understood what breeding, what health treatment needed to be done when, what grassland management, feed, bits and pieces needed putting in place and getting things right to be able to get animals performing. But we can see here we had a massive dip in 2012. And for anybody who's got a little bit of a good memory, it was a really wet year, a bit like this year. And grass got away from us. We lost quality of feed. We lost performance in animals. And that's all it's down to. But we will be able to notice it early enough to be able to react and get the animals back, flying up back into target, above the target, and they're able to sell animals quickly off the end of it. This is all down to be able to monitor and identify what's happened. Something hopefully I can get through to you today is, again, these are 8-week weights, something we really don't do in cattle, but it's something I'd be really interested in looking into, which would be 100-day weight in cattle when they reach their peak milk production to where they should be. So we have a target of 20 kilos in the sheep industry for a lowland sheep, and Here I had 41% of the animals above that. Great to look at, but that's not what makes my business profitable or any of the people I work with profitable. It's the animals at the bottom that are letting the system down. It's identifying where they're coming from, location on farm, breed, health problems, bits and pieces, and being able to target them and doing something with it. And what we can do is start layering year up a year of data, and all the software globally is very, very bad at this. So this is adjusted 8-week weights. And again, we can see 2000, year one, 19.5 kilos. Yeah, just under target. We went up, then we dropped off, and we dropped below we were the year before. And if we start looking at on a longer period, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, we can see in year whatever it is, 6, 7, 6, 2, 4, 5, year 5. There we got a massive drop in the middle. What happened? You could see we increased afterwards. So we started to look and investigate what was going on. We got all the information. But what people forget is it's the year I broke my leg. I broke my Achilles. That happened on Christmas Eve, and that effect went all the way through to weaning in July the next year. So some effect of a stockman or something that happening 6 months and even before the lambs are born had an effect on them animals' performance going on. And we really need to understand this, that actually some effects we can see now, and some of them are long-term effects which can upset your business. And having the data in a format we can go back, we can understand what's going on a lot easier. Right, something else, again, sheep, but we can see here these are lame sheep, and we can see we got up to 3%. We worry about when massively about 5%, but you can see we dropped down to under 1% post lamb into 8 weeks. What's really interesting for me out of this data is there's not the same sheep in this data set is not lame twice. So we know that our health treatments are working. We know what we're doing is actually having an effect. We just need to tackle things earlier and get things in the right place, happening, the right time, the right reactions. And when things are done right, properly, we can see the effects. And these are great for talking with stockmen and showing them that actually, if we did this slightly earlier, right timings, right this, the effects are positive, save you work and labor. So when we're looking at data recording, well, you can manage what you measure. You can record anything. Is it important? But I use standards with people: bronze, silver, and gold. It's up to you how much data you want to record, what you want to record, when, where, what. A little bit's really helpful. And what happens is people use it like Lego and build a very good foundation at bronze level. Then you really find very quickly that the stockmen come on board and they want to record something else, and it builds up to you recording a lot of information. Right, so what we need to do is think about planning. Plan what we want to capture, monthly records, quarterly records, whatever it wants to be. Monitor that, put the tracking in place, monitor it, make sure everything's right, and analyze the data, review it, and go back round to planning again. Once you've got your review, what are we going to change? I think the important thing for you guys is there has been a few case studies, not a lot done in cattle. The only case study I can find in cattle was done in Australia about the cost benefits. Is that it suggested that small herds make less money. Yeah, that makes sense. But we're talking big places in Australia this was done on. So they are seeing a 25% increase in profit, increase in performance profit generated by collecting data. I know it does say that smaller places struggle, but if it's done right, even they believe, but that's quite old data. If we look at the sheep industry, because there's been a lot more work done recently in the sheep industry Australia, because they've just gone compulsory EID, or they will do from Christmas, 1st January. So there's been massive work done on that, and they've seen a $6 per animal rise in profits, or $6 per animal rise in profits by collecting and recording data. But the big thing they have found is once they record too much and stop using it because they're struggling to record it, it's not accurate, not using it, they lose money. So it's important to record the right amount and record it accurately and use the information. Again, work's been done at SRUC in Scotland 2010. They invested a lot of money and got a £4 per ewe return on investment on 900 ewes, but it took 3 years to get it back. Again, I've had a quick look at sheep information. All we have to do is lift their scanning percentage or sales percentage by 0.08, 56 lambs on a 1200 ewe flock. No, it's not a big increase, and we can make it pay. It's similar on a smaller flock, just the percentages go up. So it can, if we use the information, be profitable. We've got grants. No, the rest of the world are absolutely amazed that we can get grants to help us buy this equipment. They're very jealous of us on it. But again, grants are really, really great. Just do your investigating and work out what you want to record. Is the equipment capable of doing it? And how we're going to do it, and get the training and the support to be able to do it. Again, these are all sheep because I haven't done a cattle one yet, but we can take off a lot of the weigh heads, put digital load cells or bits and pieces in place, upgrade most things that are there to make them digital. It is not by the wit of man to do cattle crushes. It can be done rather easily, and we can add EID readers, tablets, bits and pieces in, very simply with just a bit of time and thought of how to do it. Other technology coming along, most of it's in the sheep industry, but there's 3D imaging coming along, especially in cattle and sheep. Now front feet weighing and bits and pieces is all available. And we've got mapping of fields to map parasites and bits and pieces all coming along. But again, we could do with knowing where the animals have been as well to understand the risks and challenges on farm. Hopefully that's given you a bit of a whistle-stop tour of what's available, what can be done, and I'll take any questions and try and answer them to what people think.
You must have answered all. Oh, there's one. Rob?
We'll get them coming now.
Tell me.
Do you want to unmute yourself, Rob, so we can hear your question, or have you typed it into the box?
Is that better?
Yeah, that's it. We can hear you now.
Yeah. Evening, mate. I've got a Shearwell EID reader and weigh cell.
What, bolted onto your crush or a stick reader?
Bolted onto my crush, my
Yep.
Arrowquip crush.
Yep.
And I'm having really crap results. So it's just want some advice, really. I'm going to have to either make. I've got limers and cattle, so they're pretty bloody wild as well. And I'm frightened of just putting it on the side and then it shattering. So if I just take out all the metal bars and just leave it, would that be the best bet?
Yeah, I got to say, without seeing it, it's a little bit hard to think. And I'm sure Phoebe can pass my number around and I can do a video call with you or something and have a look. Cattle crushers are a pain with the amount of metal in them. The people who've solved the big problem is Tapari. They build them into their cattle crushers, and I'm hoping that IAE will do it eventually as well. So Tapari build them into one of their gates, so they read a lot better and clearer. So the simplest way is to bring it off or you can either put it above or below. I've seen people put, if you're head locking them in, I've seen them put it on the front past the gate, slightly high so it shoots down. And it needs tuning, so they need setting up so they can be tuned. The frequency can be changed and altered to get rid of some of the noise and bits and pieces in them. And then it can be sent down on the front. I've seen Shearwell do that. If you're putting it on the side because you're not head yoking all the time, quite often just some rubber grommets just to keep it off the metalwork so it's not bolted direct onto the metalwork will massively help.
Oh, right. So I don't have to take the metal bars out. I can just.
Depends. Without seeing it and bits and pieces, taking the metal bars out will get rid of the problem.
Yeah.
But quite often with Gallagher ones, we can put in a little rubber mount, and just bring it away from the bars a little bit, and then quite often they work once they're tuned up.
Right. What? I've not heard about this tuning. What's that all about?
So you can connect them to a laptop. I haven't done a Shearwell for years, to be honest, but Gallagher and True Test and Agrident, you can connect them to a laptop, and you can alter how it sends out the field. So how far it sends it, and alter the frequency. So normally they send out in like a cone shape, and you can tune that back so it's not hitting the metalwork on the opposite side of your crush, because it's probably, if it's tight, it's hitting the metalwork on this side and hitting the metalwork on the opposite side and giving you feedback off both sides. So you can turn the power down so it's not reading the tag on the opposite side, so it's not hitting the metalwork, so it's giving you less feedback.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's really good.
Nigel?
Yeah, a question on low frequency, high frequency cattle tags. I've got a couple of questions really, but I'm not quite sure how to word it. There's talk one time that would be storing the animal's information on the tag.
Okay,
medicine.
so that's absolutely fine. I've got no issue, because the high frequency is built into this part, so it's built into the bottom part, and it's got 3 compartments on it. So it's got a compartment for the EID number and 2 spare compartments where we can put other data in. Okay, absolutely fine. We can put BVD statements in, we can put medicine treatment in, you can put breed, sex, bits and pieces. The only issue with it is, if you can put it in, I can change it.
All right.
If you can change, because this will not come programmed with from the manufacturers, the EID number will be locked by the manufacturers like they are in these tags, so it can't be changed. But then other 2 compartments, because we don't know what animal it's going into, don't know if it's a male or a female, we don't know what medicines, treatments you're going to get, so you're going to be able to code that to be able to put that in off the readers. That means I can change it. And I've got to be able to change it if it's gone to a different BVD, different TB status. I've got to be able to reprogram it, rechange it. That, in my opinion, becomes an issue, because I can walk down and change all them compartments in these tags. Remember, I can scan a whole pen of cattle in 3 seconds. In a market, I could rewrite all them.
Yeah, back to was be able to scan multiple cattle at one time. That's not a lot of use on farm in the main, is it?
No, I don't. I don't think the markets are not keen on it, because of the fact is they're picking animals up out of different pens when they've been trialing it. And they sell them in singles most of the time. They put a sticker on the back of them or a number on the back of them, so you know which one's which lot. So they've got to get close enough to do that. So I can't see any advantage. I can see more advantage in the sheep industry than I can in the cattle industry, but we can't get the technology small enough at the moment, because it has to be that size at the moment. They're busy trying to get it smaller. Unfortunately, the NFU are on a warpath, because they believe it's the thing that all you guys want. You want to be able to read a cow at 9 meters away. You want to be able to stand at your feed barriers and scan every single tag in your shed.
I go to NFU meetings, and there's one particular person in the meetings I go to who's keen on it because he nearly got killed by a cow. But nobody else I've spoken to, including a guy at iLivestock last autumn, says that there's actually 0 benefit for the farmer to use high frequency.
The only people who will see a benefit from it, the markets are not happy and they can't see a benefit. And farmers, I think sheep farmers potentially can. We put 500 animals on a lorry, build them into the tail doors as they all come off. You know, that could be an advantage. Lambing outdoors, scanning a ewe that pisses off because she doesn't like a lamb at 9 meters away could be an advantage. Anything else isn't an advantage, and the costs are going to creep up. Scott EID keep telling us it's cheaper. Yes, the technology in the tag, the chip, is cheaper. There is no doubt about that, because it's used in more industries. But until it goes in one of these, and these have not been pass tested yet to be approved tags with EIDs in it, with high frequency in them, until they're all passed and got the thing, then costs are going to be high. And then manufacturers, because we're the only country in the world, Canada have got high frequency on their approved list. They've got one manufacturer making them, but they've all been removed from being sold. so they're not available no more. So I believe it's technology of the future. I believe government should put in legislation so we haven't got to go back through, but I believe it's got 10 years to catch up with what you guys want. Getting the readers, getting other countries on board to make it work properly.
Are other countries going to change if their systems are operating on low frequency, which I understand just about everybody else is?
The whole world's on low frequency.
Yeah. Are they going to want to change? That's the question.
If the technology, Australia's looked at it, and the Australia, like me, believe, I've been in, when I was doing my Nuffield, I had some very good conversation with Australia. We all believe it's got massive advantages, but we haven't worked out how to use it yet. You know, it works so well in warehouses, Amazon warehouses, tracking crates, bits and pieces. The technology is unbelievably good, but it's not right for us at this stage. You know, we've got to get it so if it's peeing down with rain, we can actually read the tags. And your colleague was on about, you know, because he got injured by cattle, bits and pieces. Again, yes, I can see the advantage of, but if you actually look at all the trial work where they're using hand readers, they're having to climb up on all the barriers to be able to get up above the cattle to scan them, because it won't scan through an animal or person because we're 80% water. So it won't scan through. So you have to get up above to make it work. And if you look at all them images I showed, all the readers are high up.
All right. I'll tell him. Thank you, Matt.
Great. Adrian?
Good evening, Matt. As a Scottish farmer, I have several questions for you.
Go on then.
So we are going to have to use UHF as of next year. That will be put into legislation. We are told that the abattoirs love it, that the marts love it.
Marts don't love it. I don't know who's told you that, because I've had massive meetings with the marts. The marts are absolutely scared stiff of it.
Okay, well, boss man of United Auctions loves it. Boss man of Thainston loves it.
Okay,
So,
that's very interesting.
John Roberts, Alan Hutchison, they like it.
Yep.
We are also told that I've been using LF for years. We are told that True Test and everyone is going to have everything ready. But what you're saying is that's not true.
Nope, True Test haven't got an EID reader in production to be made to read the tags. Gallagher, I've got Gallagher's reps over their head of development in November. They're not even looking at it at the moment. If you want one, they're like the Gallagher told me, if you want one, we can build them, but you're going to have to pay for it. Yeah. You're literally going to have to pay 3 or 4 grand for one instead of paying 500 quid. Shearwell are selling the tags at the moment, but they haven't got an EID reader for
them. Why are Scott EID and Mr. Bob Ewell so determined to put out UHF? Because it sounds like, from what I understand, England are going to go low frequency and Scotland are going to go high frequency.
And every single animal that crosses the border will have to be retagged.
I am told as well that there are going to be dual tags.
Yeah, I've been told there's been dual tags. I've not seen any or tested any. Again, they've got to go through testing and pass, be approved to be done. And plus, we're increasing the weight, and that weight can become an issue if we're not careful.
So your thoughts are that they shouldn't go UHF, although
I believe my thoughts are we should put it in legislation, because that's really hard to get it in legislation. The other thing that scares me about it is because it's not a proven technology, will Europe say our traceability standards not up together? Because nobody else in the world's using it as an approved traceability. And it's really interesting. Scotland and England are reading the European legislation rules completely different. Even though they've got the same rule book, they're both interpreting the rules for Europe completely different.
Because I think by July next year, we will all be in Scotland having to use UHF tags.
Yeah. Yeah. I reckon England will be 12 months behind you.
I understood they were going to stick with low frequency.
They're going to go. We're going to have EID in some format.
Yeah,
We-
yeah.
they have-
You will have to have EID will be compulsory, but it'll be low frequency. Whereas Scotland, it's going to be compulsory, but high frequency.
It's still, if you talk to the manufacturers of the tags, that has still not been approved. Neither country have actually have put anything in paper to say which way they're going. It's just unions that are saying that Scotland are going to go high frequency.
Well, there's more than unions in Scotland saying it, but
I think personally, I think two things are bonkers. That we've all got different databases. Why does Scotland, Wales, and England have to build their own databases, all spending millions building something that all does the same job? And secondly, we should be using the same technology because we've got enough animals crossing borders.
So if you had the golden touch,
it got the biggest thing I'm scared of is the sheep industry and the cattle industry having different technology. If we want high frequency, bring it into both species.
Okay. And if everything was equal, high frequency would be your choice.
High frequency, if we can make it work properly, and the trials at Harper Adams have been so hit and miss, you know, it has got massive advantages if we can get it to work. I just think we're too early into the game, and it's really interesting talking to Scottish people in the power or bits and pieces. But we want to lead the world. We want to lead the world. I don't disagree with that. But if we have our trade borders stopped because they don't believe our traceability is up to standards, that's a massive loss for you guys.
Yep.
If Europe go that we don't trust it and we're not taking anything, your traceability's just been squashed. That's a nightmare.
Thanks, Phoebe.
No problem. Richard?
Hi. Yes, I just had a comment to make. Really, I've got a large sheep flock of about 1,000 ewes. We've been using electronic shearwell tags in them for many years now, and we've got a reader. But because we lamb outdoors and run the sheep fairly extensively, there's limited opportunity for gathering data. We get all the scanning results into the system, but of course we never have the final lambing result, and because they lamb outdoors.
This is where there's a little bit of a myth sometimes that we need to record ewe to lamb. There's a lot more we can do to help a business than record, as well as without recording ewe to lamb.
Yeah, maybe, but it would be very helpful if we could.
Just put yourself on mute, Richard. Normally when people catch the space bar.
Yeah. It would be very helpful to compare scanning result to actual lambing result. If we had a high frequency ear tag that you could scan from several meters away, we could gather a lot of that data in the field.
Yeah,
currently impossible.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think there's more advantage. I've said this a couple of times. I think there's more advantage in the sheep industry. The problem is that's a large sheep tag. That's the size of the high frequency as it states today. We just can't get it small enough to go into a sheep tag. That is the issue. And I think it will come. Australia have done massive trials in high frequency because they're going compulsory in sheep, but they've thrown it out because it's not reliable enough at the moment. We all believe it's got legs. We just think we're all trying to run for something that's not quite right at the moment, and we could end up falling over if we're not careful.
Yeah, totally agree. And standardizing systems across the board is pretty essential. I've got a number of ewes that I bought in to the flock from another breeder. He didn't have shearwell tags. He had some other very rubbishy make. And we haven't been able to electronically scan pretty much any of those tags. They're just unreadable.
And that's where it comes back to. And what scares me is that when the first sheep tags, and this is going to happen in high frequency, or could happen in the first batch, and I can't find any on my desk. I've got tags everywhere, but I can't find what I'm looking for. The original ones that were made in 2006, I think I've got, before they came compulsory, read a lot better and a lot further away than any tags that are made today, because they lowered the quality of the technology within the tags to save the manufacturers money. Chips got smaller, the quality dropped. When they were trying to test it, they were using the best money could buy. Sheep wise, and some of the auto taggers, bits and pieces, they know they're just going to ears to go straight into ABP. They know they're going to get red ones potentially by ABP, potentially not by the farmer. They use the smallest, lowest quality chip in them possible because they know they're not going to last. Unfortunately, breeders use them as well because they're tagging ewe lambs onto lorries using the same theory, but they don't last with us. The other issue we see with a lot of sheep tags, I know it's supposed to be a cattle meeting. I don't know if I've got one here. It's the wrong make, but it's got the right idea in it. So you can't buy these tags no more, but the chip is in the pin of these. And they're a glass chip. And unfortunately, blokes, when they put them in, this is some of the issue they're going to find with cattle with any ones in the pin, they actually bend as they go in. They clip in, no problem at all, but the actual chip bends and that glass cylinder breaks. And it takes between 2 days and 18 months for that to get moisture ingression into a plastic tag, and that destroys the chip inside them, that stops them from working. That's why it's always better to have the chip on the outside where we don't put any pressure onto it. It's really interesting. The vet girls at lambing time don't seem to damage them. It's normally blokes that do it.
Great. There is a couple of questions in the chat. So one refers back to you're talking about the mounted readers. So in terms of handheld versus mounted, is there something to be said for that, avoiding those issues?
It depends on how your cattle crush is set up and how you work. Mounted readers people do prefer. It's a damn sight easier to use. Always get a read with a stick reader. You can buy the cheapest one from Shearwell. Will connect with any of the True Test stuff, any of the apps, bits and pieces. Long ones, short ones, this, that, and the other. They are always a lot better when you're dealing with metal, unless you can get somebody on farm to adjust and set the readers up properly. And it does take half a day to install one onto a cattle crush to make it work properly. It really does take time. They've discovered this at Harper. It's just not bolt on, stick a couple of clips on. You need to know what you're doing. And high frequency is even worse. If that angles out by 2 or 3 degrees, they don't read very well at all. Where stick readers, if they don't read, we're just getting closer.
Great. And then the next one's around LIS. So the new ID tags that we'll need to use for LIS are going to be different. So any ID that we're using now will be obsolete. Is that right?
Yes. So at the moment, the chip number doesn't match the tag number in cattle. So if the gentleman was saying he's using cattle EID, you normally get a tag bucket and the tag number corresponds to there. We're going to go, whatever happens, we're going to go to WYSIWYG just like the sheep. So what you see is what you get. So whatever you've printed on the tag will become on the chip. This is also giving issues, and I haven't heard of any solutions as such. I've got a few in my head, but haven't heard anything from government, because your historic herd runs on a 6-digit individual number, and moving forwards, you're potentially going to go to 5 to make it fit on the chips properly. And this is going to give issues with retagging the historic herd. And I know DEFRA are going through lots of meetings working out how we're going to, when, where, what, how we're going to tag the historic herd. And that's an issue we've got to look at some point. But I think to start with, let's just get EID and get farmers using it.
Great. And then finally, just around NI, is there any plans in place to go to use EIDs over there? Obviously, with being smaller beef and sheep, having the importance of the technology matching up, etc.
Again, there is talk they are going to match us. They're going to use different colour. There's no end of debate about colour of tags, so we know they've got chips in them. At the moment, traditionally sheep use yellow, so we know it's EID'd. There is a reason we use yellow. Yellow and black stands out better than any other, and the colour doesn't degrade in ultraviolet. I know we don't seem to get a lot of that at the moment, but sunlight, weather does destroy the plastic when we're using different colours. There is talk of Ireland using, I think it's pink, or is that Scotland? One country's on about using white and one's on about using pink to identify where they're coming from. But Northern Ireland are very much looking at low frequency because of the factors of going into Southern Ireland, because if they cross them borders, they're going to have low frequency in their ears.
Great. Well, that looks like all the questions, unless anyone's got any more. No. Oh, Rob?
Yeah, so sorry. If I was going to get somebody out to have a look at my reader, who do I get over to Sherwell? Are they my best bet, or is are you volunteering? Or
I got to say, I do it. Sherwell would do it. There's only one of me I know of that does all this sort of thing. The other places, your manufacturers, but don't go to your merchants and bits and pieces. Get them out to help. Get their manufacturers out to help you set it up. Sherwell have probably got the best resources for helping you set out compared to the other manufacturers. Like I said, Data Miles or True Test have got 2 reps covering the country, and they've got a hell of a job. I do feel sorry for them, the amount they got to do. Gallagher's reps, again, I think it's 2 or 3 covering the country for Gallagher, but they don't know what some of their products are. They're dealing with such a big range, they wouldn't know how to do it, Gallagher, a lot of the Gallagher people. So you need to find the right people within there. But yeah, either somebody like myself or the manufacturers.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. So are you going to post can we contact you?
Phoebe will pass my details around, I'm sure.
Cool. Yeah, I'll get Katie to send round all the details, etc., so that you've got it. So I think, Matt, you've signed yourself up for something there.
Thank you.
Great. Nigel?
Note to self, before saying too much, find out where people are in the country.
check them out. Nigel?
Yeah, I was just a comment really. I was pleased to hear Matt say that question why we're having a different system in each of the home countries when currently we're doing it through one, and the cost is to me doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense to me. We're all trying to achieve the same thing. The big thing England's discovering at the moment is this traceability needs to be better. With blue tongue in my part of the world in the southeast, we need to have good traceability. Cattle's better than sheep, don't get me wrong, but they are finding holes in it. They really are, and it's going to get worse. Not worse, it's probably the wrong word, but anybody who vaccinated cattle for sheep with the blue tongue vaccine, in theory, still all theory, because it's an unlicensed vaccine, in theory, we have to trace them animals for 5 years. And this is going to put a real test on animals moving around the country. Where were they vaccinated with? What product? Where are they now? It's not that we can't kill them. They just want to know where they are. And if they cross borders, we're going to lose some of it.
Yeah, well, I live close to the English border, and the local market would be taking cattle from England to sell in stores. They go back into England to finish, and they'll come back into Wales for killing some of them. And to me, to record each of those movements, from one different system, from the Welsh system to the English system, it just seems crazy to me.
We know through the sheep system that's already happening in that we have lost traceability. As soon as they go across that border, that movement record is not even recorded properly.
Is that right? Good, thanks.
They are looking at all. I've had meetings with Scotland's, Welsh, and England's all boards looking at this. They all know it's a problem, but they're all fighting their own corner instead of working together.
Great. Any more for any more? No. Well, big thank you to Matt. I think it's certainly been really helpful, really good insight and some really good questions. So thank you all for sort of taking part and engaging with this evening. As I said, we'll share Matt's details so that you've all got them and can touch base with him individually if you'd like to do so. But apart from that, that's everything this evening. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
for
very
inviting
much.
me.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assume that's one of your colleagues left.
No, it says external. I can remove them. There you go.
Was that what you wanted?
Yeah, no, it's great. Some really good questions. Which is always what you want, really. I think it just goes to show, doesn't it, that you just, with all the different old nations, it's so tricky.
Yep. And it's really interesting that somebody's saying in Scotland that the markets want it, because all the market body, I don't know if there's a different body in Scotland compared to England and Wales, they don't want it. They don't want high frequency. They want EID, but they don't want high frequency. That's really interesting to hear.
Mm.
I don't know what ABP's opinion of it is.
Well, we're still hand scanning, so I'm not sure what our opinion would be on it in Lairages. Again, everything has to be individually scanned in, so for the whole to make sure the right animal's the right animal. So that's the only bit that I can't quite get my head around, is the wanting a full list, unless you're in a massive feedlot in America where you want to go, I need these to go off in this batch. That's the only real value I see in it.
I'm the same. Pig industry works really well in. Weigh a batch of pigs in a scales works really well. We don't work like that.
No.
I just think there is such a risk of us losing our traceability if we're not careful. Wrong animals being scanned, think you've scanned that tag here, the first animal doesn't work, and there's a chance we've caught the one behind it. That worries me. And that's what I'm saying. I reckon we need to put these in for we don't even know if these are going to last 10 years, 15 years. The trial work's not been done. That's why Australia have binned it. They don't know if the tags will last long enough.
Yeah. Until
they can prove that they will do the length time of the animal, they're not happy implementing it.
And if anything, we want traceability and everything to go in more granular. Yeah. So like the gentleman said about moving from one location to the other.
And the only place we hear dual technology is Scotland. Any place that keeps saying the answer is having dual technology. So where it crosses border. but we have got a worry that we're going to increase the weight by too much. The biggest thing that's been found is increasing that weight by 5 grams, which is roughly the weight of an EID tag. If we put another chip on it, the loss rate goes up, and it's a massive amount it goes up, especially with bad application. And if farmers start losing them, because a dual purpose tag, if we're talking £3, £3.50 for a tag at the moment, put dual technology on it, you're going to be talking £5-6 They're going to quibble if they keep losing those.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that was really great. So hopefully it's all recorded right, and Katie can watch it back. So, and yeah, we'll I'll get Katie to pop your details around if that's all right. And
that's absolutely fine. I got to say,
people can reach out.
There's always going to be questions after this sort of thing. So if people reach out, I've got to go up to Scotland in a couple of months' time. I'm in North Wales. As long as, you know, if somebody wants me to come and visit, as long as it can be planned in and they're willing to pay.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I do a lot over Zoom, WhatsApp.
Yeah. Happy days.
Right. Brilliant.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
And,
Have a good evening.
And
I
you.
will see you at some point.
Many
Bye.
thanks. Bye.
Bye.